What's up, everybody? Welcome back to ALLSMITH. We are welcoming a special guest today. He's one of my favorite guests. This is our first time in person, though. That makes this one a lot more special. And he's the VP of Performance for COYA, the founder of the Vitality System, and the author of his newest book that we have sexy right here. Up in front, which is cool. Move, Thrive, Come Alive. It sounds good. It rolls off the tongue, which is sick. But you're someone that spent a whole life exploring what it truly means to live well. You're connected with some of the best brands in the world, some of the greatest people in the world. And since our last conversation, you were traveling the world, you've become a father, you continue challenging the way people think about health, longevity, and performance. I'm pumped to really pull back the curtain a little bit. Previous times we've talked about your origin story with basketball, where you've been, what you've done. Today I really want to dive into conversations that everyone's having around wellness, around fitness, parenting, recovery, the controversial things with things like peptides, and what actually matters. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd love to welcome Kyle Gonzalez to the show.
Ooh, what an intro. The pleasure is mine. As always, the pleasure is mine. I think, like we were mentioning just before recording, like kindred spirits, we definitely cut from the same cloth. We see each other eye to eye on so many different things. But yeah, I think just the way we approach life and the way we want to push the envelope, explore the edges, all of those things is something that I resonate with. And there's not many of us out there, but I feel like when I find it, I hold on to it. So third time's a charm. We're back. When I was in San Diego, I was like, there's one person I need to call, and here we are.
Let's go. I love it, man. I think the cliche quote experts would say game, recognize game.
Yes, sir.
Dude, you've been doing a lot. What's it like so far being a dad? Like, we're working towards that now. Practicing is fun. Yeah. But it's like, what's it like being a dad? And I'm sure that's challenged your edges a little bit and forced you to adapt in ways you couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. What's it like being a dad? It's the greatest gift, the greatest job in the world, times 1,000. And I think every day I wake up and just everything is filtered through a different energy, through a different vitality when you know you have someone that is, again, relying on you, someone who's watching you, someone who's learning from you, and all these different things. And so it's special. It's special, and I don't take it for granted, and I want to spend as much time and soak up as much time and energy and all of that I can. And so that requires me to make sure I'm taking care of myself. And I think a lot of people think, oh, like I have kids go first, everything's the kids. But it's like, you can't forget about one, myself, two, me and my wife, Courtney. If we're not on the same page, if we're not, right, guess what? We're not showing up for our kid in the right way. And so that was a realization for me is I have to adapt my, I used to be the over optimizer. I got to do everything in this way and that way and this things and all the step routines. And now it's a little bit more flexible. I always say, be clear with where you want to go, flexible, how you get there. And so for me, I've had to swallow that myself. And like, I can't do the long workouts that are scheduled and regimented. I can't do certain things because, again, I want to be present with my son when I can. And sometimes that means he wakes up in the middle of the night and I got to be there. And sometimes that means I got to pick him up early from daycare. And so I think you let go of more control. But everybody who tells me like, oh man, you must have no time and you're always doing this and that. It's like, yeah, but like the energy and vigor I have for life has never been higher. And
I love the way you said that, man. Be clear in where you want to go, but flexible in how you get there. Yeah, that's a cheat code. If you guys get nothing else from our conversation, I mean, we might as well just stop recording now. Like, done. That's it.
Yep.
I guess my thought around that is, how cool is that you've developed this adaptability, right? It just shares with people that it's not a one size fits all model, and also that it's inverse to what people think, right? It's paradoxical in the sense of people think, oh, and we put a post about this the other day on ALLSMITH around people think, oh, give. That's the most selfless thing you can do. But it actually ends up being kind of selfish because now you're giving what's left over after you've given, after you've cleaned up, after you've done all the tasks and checked all the boxes. Now you're giving what's left over not only to yourself, But over the course of time, right, because we know consistency is the secret sauce,
Yep.
now you're giving what's left over of you to other people in the future, including your wife, your favorite person.
Yep.
So it's like, what are your thoughts on how to psychologically reframe that for people that are such givers? They're attempting to do the next right thing, but it's kind of like this psychological paradox of the 1990s when people are like, hey, fat-free is good. You're just like, I'm trying to do what the experts are telling me is good, and then all of a sudden I'm missing out on nutrient density. How's that been for you to realize that, like, my son deserves the best version of me, so I need to be adaptable? That might mean staying up later, waking up earlier, doing things that are not necessarily in alignment with the psychological expectations. But if you exchange expectation for appreciation or the energy that you said, your life can change forever. How's that been for you and Courtney as you've navigated raising this little one in the world?
Well said. I think for me, it comes back to, like, you can't pour from an empty cup cliche, which is true. And I also think you have to, like, drop control and drop expectations. And I think for me, I was a person that always tried to, like, have control over so many elements of my health, over my this, over my that. When you have a kid, it's like, again, it shows you that it's like man plans and God laughs. Like that's how it feels. It's like,
so good, man.
Don't try to, overthink, over control these things. Accept what is, face what's in front of you. And again, be flexible and adaptable and all that. And so for me, one of the biggest revelations coming out of traveling is, like, don't, like, color your experiences before you have them. Like, let them be, like, let have the experience, and, again, respond, and don't just be on autopilot. Don't just react to things. Like, actually be present and meet the moment with what it needs. And so for me as a father now, there's so many more moments that I have to meet that are, again, having me pause, having me reflect more, having me think, how do I actually want to show up for this moment, for my son, for my wife? And the thing I always think about is, like, before I have a dog, before there was a Milo, we got the dog first, there was a me and Courtney. Before there was a Caden, our son, there was a me and Courtney. And before there was a me and Courtney, there was a me. And so, like, again, you have to make sure you're taking care of yourself so you can pour into those things. And so you said it best, like, people think, like, oh, selfless, give. And then guess what? You leave your health and your mindset and all these things with the scraps, the leftovers. And if you do that, it's only a matter of time before burnout, before you lose yourself, before, all of these things start to fall apart. And so for me, I know it doesn't always look the same. It doesn't always look perfect. And this is not a perfection. I have to do all of these things and I have to check all these boxes. But I have to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. I have to make sure that I'm dedicating time, energy, space to myself, to my wife, so that we can be better parents, so that I can be a better husband, so that I can be a better coworker, so that I can be a better community member. And there's still dreams and goals that we have, and I don't want us to lose sight of that either. And I want to make sure that we have the energy to still pursue those things, because again, you don't want to, I think I heard it best, maybe it was Brad Stolberg.
He's great.
He's like, build an identity house. Don't put all your identity in one room. Because again, if you put all your marbles in one basket and then you lose that basket, like, who are you? It's like me, you'll probably resonate with this. I have friends who are athletes as well, but like some of my teammates, it's like basketball and being a basketball player was their everything. And if you don't go play pro or you don't have an option after college, it's like, who am I? What do I do with life? What is my identity? Like, basketball was everything. So for me, diversify that identity and make sure that you are, putting marbles in different baskets. I love to travel. I love to cook. I love to write. I love to read. And my identity is spread out. And so Brad Stolberg's house analogy is like, spread your identity out. That's so huge, again, man. You can make sure that you're diversified.
Huge. This episode is brought to you by ALLSMITH. If you've been listening for a while, you know this is bigger than just workouts. At ALLSMITH, fitness is the vessel. Life is the true mission. We help people upgrade not just their body, but their routines, their mindset, their energy, their confidence, their relationships, and their overall direction. Some people work with us in person through coaching, through accountability, through movement, through community, and through real human connection. Others choose to work with us online from anywhere in the world through customized programming, lifestyle design, habit building, check-ins, support, and a system built around your actual life. Because the goal isn't perfection. The goal is creating a life that feels aligned, resilient, energized, and truly sustainable. If you feel stuck, if you've been putting yourself absolutely last in all the things in your to-do list, if you want support, structure, accountability, and community that genuinely gives a damn, ALLSMITH might be your next step. Movement is the entry point. Your peak expression is the destination. Head over to allsmith.co or shoot me a message on Instagram @TheRealBryceSmith, or shoot a message to our team @AllSmithCo, and let's build something beautiful. I did that the wrong way. Everything was basketball, and it's so fascinating when you look back. It's a mystery looking forward, but it's science looking back. And like my college career was trash. Like look at my statistics. Like it was terrible. And somehow somebody saw me playing in just like a adult league, like a pickup league type thing. They're like, man, this kid has something. It just never really fit at the college level. And so getting that phone call to go play professionally overseas, I'm so thankful for it, because I don't know that my life looks this way without that. Yeah. Not in necessarily a bad way, but just in sheer closure. Yeah. And what's interesting about it is that it became less about basketball. It became more about who am I? Yeah. And then you answer with I am ... for everything that comes after that sets the precedent for the rest of your life. Yeah. And I think I needed that experience and the deconstruction of the ego after high school to just be like, you are a human. Yeah. You want to help people. You want to serve. You're not a basketball player. You're not a shooter. You're not these labels that the world gives you. And I think that's a very important deconstruction for people to sit with for a moment. Like, you're not your job. You're not the things that you've done. Yep. You are your head, your heart, and your soul. And when those three things are in vibration, that vibration can then have a ripple effect into the rest of the world. It can vibrate up, but it can also vibrate down. Yep. And I think you verbalized it very well. Something that comes to mind a little bit about what you said is that the world wants access to, especially for men, what you do, not who you are. And when you shift that conversation, people get weirded out by that. Oh, you go deep fast. Oh, you're going to navigate this thing where I actually have to think. This feels heavy. Mm-hmm. I don't really want to play. I was expecting that, hey, how are you? Good, you? Yep. But when you answer with like, yeah, I'm all right. Here's a couple things, a couple bullet points that are actually going on in my life. People are like, oh, I don't have time for that. Yep. What is it about that where that feels, to the deep thinker, to the honest feeler, to the empath, yep, to the intuitive human, there's like, okay, there's something here that we can unpack. Like, let's play pickleball. Like, I'll hit and you hit back. Yep. But with most of the world, especially on the West Coast and East Coast, in the Midwest, I think it's a little different. Yep. It's kind of like, oh, that's a weakness. I'm going to weaponize that against you. You're not useful to me right now. You hit the ball to me, but I just grabbed the ball and I see a weakness now. I don't really want to play. I'm going to move on to the next. I don't know if I'm verbalizing that exactly appropriate, but I feel like you've traveled enough to really feel that. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, it's a big topic. I think we live in the world of shallow these days, and we live in the world of surface level, highlight reel, instant gratification, quick fix, you name it, hacks, you name all of that stuff. And I think people are like then now programmed to take human interaction that way. But also you think about, there's less human interaction just overall. And I think the people who do spend time coaching, working with people, they can go deep, they can ask the probing questions, and they can get beyond the surface level. And I think people get sometimes intimidated by that, or they're not so comfortable with themselves or not so comfortable with those deep answers. And so they want to kind of shield it away. And so I think one of the beautiful things with traveling is just seeing people for who they are. They know nothing about you, but again, how you treat someone you know nothing about, how you treat someone who it's not going to reward you if you treat them good. Like that's such a good like litmus test of character, good litmus test of who you are, kindness. And when you travel, you meet people who have nothing. You meet people who are in a situation that you might see as a privileged person from Western culture as like, oh my God, like I want to help this person, but they're not unhappy. They're beautiful. They're smiling. They're laughing. They're kind. They're all of these things. And so for me, it kind of makes you step back and how do I get comfortable with myself? How do I spend time, reflect, and do all of these things? And so journaling practice and making sure I do, meditation, breath work, and all these things are the tools I use. It's not everybody has to use these tools, but you better be okay with being bored. You better be okay with being with yourself. I know a lot of people who can't spend 30 minutes by themselves. They can't spend 30 minutes without watching a YouTube video, scrolling, say driving to work or eating a meal. Like you see people, it's like, and I'm the same way. I'm not higher than this. Like every time we eat a meal, me and my wife are like, oh, do you want to watch some YouTube video or something? It's like, we can't just sit and eat a meal together. Like where have we come? Like, and so with all of that, I think it takes intentionality. It takes practice to look someone in the eye, to make sure that you are seeking out connection. I think we all know, like we probably talked about it on this podcast, but Harvard Health Study, 80 plus years, longest running health study. What do they find? Relationships. This is the number one thing. It's not cold baths. It's not sauna.
That's why we created ALLSMITH Social Club. And it's fascinating because some people choose to use it. Yeah. Some people are like, I'm just paying for workouts. Yeah. And it's like, I get it, but like this whole thing was not created to exchange money for workouts. It was to create a collective, to create an identity. Who are you becoming with fitness as the vessel? Yeah. And I was listening to a meditation on the way here, again, not being in silence, right? I'm guilty of it too. I'm definitely not perfect.
For sure.
But one of the things that came up when listening to the Calm app with Tamara Levitt, I don't know if you've ever listened to her. She's great. She was talking about how when you're sitting with that upright posture, crisscross applesauce, kind of finding your peace, doing a body scan, you're like, my nose itches. Mm-hmm. Oh, my left hip is tight. Hey, I need to rotate. I need to fidget. And I'm somebody that like people ask often, and I'm sure you get this too, like, hey, what's the best mobility exercise? And I was like, well, the best position is the next one. Mm-hmm. So like you think about Bruce Lee, be like Wata. Mm-hmm. Just keep moving. Yep. Right? Momentum and movement is medicine. Like we could have all these little cliche things, but there's also something beautiful about stillness. Yep. And when we're doing that breath work or that full body scan, that is a sensation. Something that comes to mind for me is, can we practice the art of being the observer? Can we notice, for me oftentimes, like, man, my left hip is tight. My neck is like forward head tilt because I'm used to leaning into the phone or the microphone. Mm-hmm. Now I'm judging myself. Now I'm trying to correct. Now I'm fidgety. Now I'm moving. That's in alignment with my expectations of what I thought this experience was supposed to be. Not with, this is what the experience is. Yep. Those are two different lenses. And I think what's really beautiful for people is to notice what the experience is, not feel like they have to be performative or they're going to be judged or they're going to get a score, and simply notice. And then within that noticing, you allow yourself to identify as a human that is in pursuit of a beautiful life. But you also acknowledge that you have a beautiful life. Yep. And we've had people on the podcast before that have traveled to Africa, and some of these kids walk 2 miles to go get water. Some of them get attacked by alligators. Some of them have died by alligators in getting that water. And then all of a sudden, like, they wear the same clothes every day. They don't have formal education. They don't have any money. But when they hear music, they dance. They connect. They play. When they get a small bowl of grains or rice, they're not like, where's the protein? They're just like, oh, I'm so thankful to get some food and to connect and to love. And they look you in the eyes and they have this beautiful spirit about them. Mm-hmm. And it just goes to show that, like, we've created expectations based on our social programming of what it's supposed to be. And you and I are former, like, biohacking optimizers, right? Like, this is good, but this is better. We got to do better, better, better. I mean, even now people are like, oh, you shouldn't get into the cold plunge after a workout because it's going to depreciate your gains. And I'm like, yeah, it might, but like, it also might make your state feel really good. You're accomplishing doing a hard thing. Yep. You're probably not just doing it by yourself. And then on the other side, like you've done something, we got a sensation, you got to feel more alive. Yep. So maybe the goal isn't always more muscle. Maybe that's your expectation. But what I'm really interested to unpack with you today is come alive.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like people are not living, they're existing. They're just trying to make it to their pillow at night. They're just trying to pay their bills. In your opinion, what do you think is the best way to reshape that psychological identity where people can truly have appreciation in every moment, even if it's not the most weight, it's not the best person, it's not everything that's optimized, but they're still enrolled in the human experience? This episode of ALLSMITH is brought to you by our friends over at Kalo and their new smart ring. I've been wearing the Kalo smart ring the past few months, and I love how simple it is. It seamlessly fits within my lifestyle and is not invasive into any elements of my life. It tracks my sleep, my movement, my heart rate, my HRV, my stress, my body temperature, and it gives you real awareness around your lifestyle and how it's impacting your recovery and performance. What makes it perfect for me is simply the versatility. I can wear it while coaching, while training, while working, while sleeping, or just living life, and it quietly collects the data in the background. And the best part is it's under $200 and there's zero subscription. No monthly fees, no gimmicks, just clean, affordable health tech. Head over to kalo.com/allsmith and use code ALLSMITH at checkout to get your discount. You can also find it at select Walmart stores and at walmart.com. Now let's get back to the show.
Ooh, man, where do I start with that? But I think, one, people need to be around other people and they need to have experiences, whatever that means for them. It can be food, it can be travel, it can be art, it can be music. I think when we can connect to beautiful experiences, awe-inspiring experiences, things that we can't explain, things that we might not understand. I was listening to a podcast, of course. I'm the same way. It's like sometimes I catch myself, I'll say things on podcasts or I'm teaching people and I'm like, but Kyle, the last time you were in the car, you were listening to a podcast. You couldn't just be by yourself. So like, what are you doing about that? Mm-hmm. So again, I look in the mirror, but I was listening to a podcast on like Arthur Brooks and, you know, his great work on happiness and finding meaning and, you know, asking yourself, he's talking about asking yourself questions that don't have an answer or asking yourself that you'll never find an answer or having goals that you'll never reach the end. For example, I want to be the best dad I can be. I don't get to a point where it's like, check, I'm the best dad. I did it. I'm done. I'm always going to be striving and working and doing the things that I can to grow in that area. And that's a meaningful goal because, again, I can't attain it. And I'm happy about that. It's like curiosity for me. I love the fact that I will never know everything about fitness. I will never know everything about nutrition. But guess what? That's the beauty of it. I get to continue to learn. I get to continue to dive into this wholeheartedly. And I get to continue to be open. And I think the best practitioners are ones that are open to different tools, methods, and all of that, but also open to being wrong, open to changing their opinion. And so for me, I think it's like strong convictions loosely held. And so for me, it's like I really want to come across as, again, confident, intelligent with all of those things. But guess what? If I'm proven wrong or somebody says something that might be better for them or whatever, totally open and willing.
But you just explained why I love podcasting. Yeah. Because sometimes I come in with this strongly held opinion. Yep. And then somebody makes a really good point and I'm like, dang, I should be really malleable because they just convinced me otherwise. And I love that you said strong convictions loosely held because it reminds me, I've been getting into golf. Oh. And I'm terrible. But I have, 5 to 6 good shots when I play a par 3 18. Yep. And every time I go to the driving range, like I'm very open. Like I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm seeing LeBron and Steph Curry and Draymond getting into it. I'm like, okay, I kind of want to play with this a little bit. It's kind of fun. And it's funny because I was loosely gripping too much in the beginning.
Yep.
And then I was over gripping like recently, like being the try hard guy.
Yep.
And somebody used the analogy, like you want to hold it like you're holding a bird to hang out with you, but not to kill the bird. And so like tinkering with the grip really helped me understand that like how much politics influences psychology of media and of headspace and of day-to-day culture. And what I mean by that is if you change your opinion, especially in the podcast space, people are like, well, you're a hypocrite. You said this, a year ago, and now you're saying this now, and they pull the clips now.
Yep.
Or it's like, oh, you're a flip-flopper. You felt this way, now you feel this way. It's like, if we were the exact same day after day, year after year, month after month, week after week, we wouldn't be evolving.
Yep.
And I actually really admire when people have the courage to say, hey, I previously thought this,
yep,
and I now believe this. And I believe this for the season of life that I'm in. The way you think now as a father
yep,
is way different than the way you thought in college.
yep,
And that doesn't make one right and one wrong. It
yep,
simply makes them different.
yep.
How have you, in your coaching, in your relationships, helped people understand that, like, yes, you can have convictions, you can have beliefs, you can have strong values, but you can also be open and malleable based on not knowing everything?
Yep. Yeah. We use a great term at COYA saying like a beginner's mindset with a scientist's approach, which is like open to learning new information, open to new habits, open to new mindsets. But a scientist's approach, you're going to have to get uncomfortable. You're going to have to try things. Some things are going to be wrong. Some things are going to be right. But like by definition, if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Yep.
And I think it's crazy that people think like, oh, I can do a diet for 30 days and then go back to what I used to do. Like, what do you think is going to happen when you go back to what you used to do? And so for me, I try to like get rid of the labels. Like, again, it's like not coloring your experience, but a different flavor of that. Like good, bad, always, never, best, worst. Like, can we get rid of those? Everything exists on a spectrum. Nothing's going to be perfect. And so for me, it's like, I don't look at my nutrition and say like, okay, I'm going to eat the best things today and then the worst thing. It's like, no, I'm going to eat. Food is relational, food is cultural, food is nourishment, food is all of these different things. And so I think when we create bad relationships with exercise or nutrition or sleep, and we try to, again, have too much control, it's like you gripping the golf, on the swing. It's like, if we try to like really control it too much, life will show us that we truly have no control over these things. And so it's like with nutrition or sleep, you travel, life's going to happen, you have kids, you have work, all of these things are going to be thrown in. So guess what? The best approach is to know and make informed decisions, but you don't want to, and I think it's a Buddhist thing, like shoot yourself with the second arrow. Like the first arrow is, whatever happens to you. The second arrow is you giving yourself the judgment, the shame of all that on top. Don't shoot yourself with the second arrow. Like, again, live life knowing that it's going to be imperfect, but I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to experiment. I'm going to make sure that I'm growing in these areas, figuring out, whether it's minimal effective dose, whether it's all of these little things that I've talked about. But like, drop the labels. Everything exists on a spectrum.
Man. I think that's huge. It goes to show that like the majority of life is lived in the gray area. But our education system wants to label things because they're easier to understand. You can hold them tangibly with the mindset.
Yep.
And when it feels like you're holding something like water or an idea that's not tangible, it diminishes credibility to the consumer.
Oh,
and then if for the critical thinker, you now realize like, oh, so much of life is bullshit marketing.
Yeah.
And so many people are believing, oh, well, when I listen to this podcast, they said to do these 3 things and then I would get the result. But I loved your concept of labels because I think the number one thing holding most people back is the story that they tell themselves. I hurt myself doing hip thrusts. I hurt myself doing deadlifts. Those exercises are bad.
Yep.
It's like, no, there's variables to contextually dig with the psychological shovel.
Yep.
What was going on emotionally? How was sleep?
Yep.
What was going on with our hips? What's our sleep position? What was our nutrition like?
Yep.
When we went through hip extension on whether it was a hip thrust or a deadlift, did we finish with the shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles in one line, or did we go to global extension? So now we want to demonize the exercise when really we just weren't focused. We didn't move well.
Yep.
That's like saying basketball is bad because somebody twisted their ankle. It's like there's so many variables that contextually need to be integrated within the conversation. How do we get people to utilize critical thinking when our education system wants to place labels? Because you're writing books, and you're trying to create frameworks. You're trying to create boundaries around this gray area so that people can remember. But at the same time, it's like the answer to most questions is it depends. But it depends doesn't sell.
No.
This episode is supported by ALLSMITH Apparel. And honestly, this isn't just merch. It's a reminder that growth is forged, not found. That discipline is care. That consistency is freedom. That community is medicine. We created ALLSMITH for the people chasing something deeper than just aesthetics. People building businesses, healing, starting over, showing up tired, but showing up anyway. People truly seeking edges. When you wear ALLSMITH, you're not just wearing a logo. You're wearing a mindset, a conversation starter, a flag for people who believe movement, mindset, adversity, and intentional living can help shape a beautiful life. We are ALLSMITHs. Check out our latest apparel drops and our ALLSMITH apparel at allsmith.co. And thank you for helping us build this thing together.
That's right on. That was what was going through my head, is just like, people want certainty. I mean, the brain doesn't like uncertainty. The brain wants certainty. So of course, somebody who comes on, they could be confidently wrong. But if they're confident and they have a great video and great content, guess what? They're going to get likes, they're going to get engagement, they're going to get all of that stuff because, again, confidence, they're just presenting well and all of that. And so that's the scary part of social media is like, guess what? Most, and not all, most of the people who are actually like practitioners and doing the thing, they're out doing the thing a lot of the time. So it's hard to then, do the content and do this and that. And so, again, I think there are a few good voices out there that will go back on their opinion, but again, that doesn't sell. And you said it best. I think for people, you have to be a scientist. You have to be curious. You have to be discerning over the information that you consume. The information that you consume and the things you give attention to ultimately are who you become. And so you think about, if you're watching all of these videos that are demonizing some political state or some, whatever, it's like, you're ultimately self-fulfilling prophecy. You're going to become
a sponge. You're starting to observe. It's like nutrition. You're absorbing all the things that you're consuming, even if it's just visual or energetically. It doesn't have to go through the pie hole.
Yep. And I think environment. Oh man, I've been on a huge environment kick lately of like auditing my environment mentally, but also like my surroundings, conditions, and all of that. And so like people you're around, places that you frequent, information you consume. All of these things, what I say is like, they're affecting you whether you know it or not. And it could be positive, it could be negative. And so bringing more things into your awareness, getting more education, diving deeper, questioning the opinions of people, doing the actual research, not just a Google search, going a little bit deeper, reading, all of these things are super helpful. But guess what? Like taking action and doing these things is the best way to pressure test whether this works for me or not. And so you have to do that consistently. Give yourself a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever, of trying some of these different things, because I think people are so quick. Man, I have so many people who are like, oh yeah, Kyle, I tried that for a couple of days and like it didn't work. I'm like, a couple of days? Try like a couple weeks at least. And so for me, it's, again, we're losing sight of what consistency is. We're losing sight of how to obtain it. And for me, it's just like, how can I, like the quote that keeps coming back to me is, anything over zero compounds. How can we just keep stacking over zero? Like, is it one day? Is it 5 another day? Is it 6? This is my life right now as a dad. Like, it's not always 10. It's not always check. It's like half a check here, 5, 3, but you bet your ass, like, I'm showing up and I'm going to prove to myself that I can show up. And when you do that, you build confidence. And if you have confidence, then again, you're ready to take on whatever life throws at you. And you're not just being a victim to life. Again, you're ready to accept whatever's happening and do the right thing and make the right decision. And so for me, environment is huge. Who you surround yourself with, the the places that you're going. Are you getting outside? Man, every podcast I've been on, I've mentioned this stat of just like 93% of the time we're indoors. Like that's crazy.
Artificial light, negative energy, quotas, emails, word vomit, expectations, measurables, right? You and I both know everything that's measured doesn't always count, and everything that counts isn't always measured.
Yep.
But here's the thing, dude. When you audit your environment and the people that you're around,
yep,
you might distance yourself from a place or from people that were relevant for a long duration of time.
Oh, yeah.
I'm somebody that, I grew up in the 90s. Loyalty was huge.
Oh, yeah.
But modern day, most people are moving from jobs every 2 years, roughly. I stayed at the same job for almost 12 years and decided to take the pivot. And that led to a very humble, lonely chapter where I knew I didn't really belong in this environment, but I hadn't really graduated to the entrepreneurial environment yet. I didn't really know what I was doing. I couldn't fall back on my parents because they had both passed. I didn't have the relationship space figured out, but I knew I had a lot of love to give and to receive.
Yeah.
But then old friendships were like, oh, you're better than us now? Oh, you don't align with us anymore? Hey, how come you don't call us anymore? Or this, that, and the other. And I realized that so many relationships I was fostering. I was tenderizing the soil. I was putting the water in there. I was adding the different ingredients to help the flower grow. And when I stopped being the leader in that relationship, the plant started to die.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I want to be in a relationship where on Mondays I do it and then on Tuesdays you do it. I wanted to feel a little bit more reciprocal.
Yep.
But that was courage to take that leap and to then start dating myself and realize you know what? That environment was really special for a really long time. But now it's time to move on. I have to figure out what's next. And I don't know what that is, but I know it's out there. And I have a very optimistic, childlike vision that if we just keep putting one foot in front of the other, we're going to find it or we're going to create it.
Yeah.
And I'm curious your thoughts because so many people stay in the land of the comfortable complacency because we are such tribal creatures. We talked about those that live the longest in life typically foster the most meaningful relationships.
Yep.
Well, if you have relationships and they're not the best, but you have, a place to go, it's like the region beta paradox. It's the land of mediocrity.
Yep.
But then when you cut that cord and you go over here, now you have nothing. Or at least it feels like nothing. Not that it is nothing.
Yeah.
And so it forces you to look in the mirror and be like, whoa, I have self. I need to figure out how to establish these roots. I need to figure out how to have an anchor and a place to come back to as far as my value system and really having a filter for the people that genuinely care about me, not just the people that need something, not the people that want something. Yes, I can be a safe space for when people, are going through a tough time. But if I'm only the person that serves as just the hands giving and not the hands receiving, eventually you're like, okay, I've had enough. How did you navigate that thought process before marriage? It's a lot easier when you have your best friend. It's a lot easier with a dog. But when it's just you and you're just looking out there I know that my internal soul is communicating this to me and the noise and the volume is turning up. I have to do this thing. Otherwise, I'm going to be faced with regret for the rest of my life. How did you ultimately do that?
Yeah. I think you started to get at it and you mentioned it. You have to get right with yourself first. You have to be okay with yourself. You have to be okay with being alone. Being lonely and being alone is not the same thing. And so I think you got to be okay being alone. And I think that's perfectly fine. Even to this day, I cherish time when I'm alone. And again, I don't get as much of it, but when I get it, I'm happy to have it and I can do things that are self-care to me. Maybe that's reading, maybe that's writing, maybe that's just going for a walk, which just being out in nature, oh my God, there's just so much that comes from that and that experience. But I think also, again, I'm going back to Arthur Brooks because it's fresh on my mind. He talks about a concept of real friends and deal friends. You have to understand who's who. And we talked about seasons of life. We go through seasons of life. It's okay if you evolved to a place and maybe that person hasn't yet. if they truly evolve as a person and come back into your orbit, that's okay. But you have to be willing to let that energy go, or else, like you said, you're going to be dragging someone along and you're going to have weight on you. And so popular quote is like, if you want to fly, give up everything that's weighing you down. And I think a lot of people right now, they're trying to fly and they have all the energy, they have all the things, but like they have so much stuff attached to them weighing them down that they're like, why can't I fly? I have the motivation, I'm doing the thing, I'm working hard. Well, there's a lot of baggage that you're carrying. And so for me, I try not to look at it as like you said, I'm not higher than anybody. It's not, we're just in different seasons of life or stages of life or evolution. And for me, I want it to be reciprocal. To me, I want to feel that energy, and it doesn't even have to be geographically. Like I have best friends that are back in DC. I have friends that are in Omaha, Nebraska. Like I have friends all over, but the energy when we talk, I leave the conversations as a better person when I interact with any of them. And I know that I got better through that conversation. They asked the deep questions like we talked about. They pushed me as a person. They pushed me mentally. They checked in on the things that, matter to me. And those conversations could be 15 minutes, they could be 3 hours, but I know, again, we both gave each other this energy in life that they will now leave and go be better for it.
This episode is brought to you by our friends over at Bubs Naturals. Look, wellness can get noisy. There's tons of conflicting information out there. A million supplements, a million opinions. But what I truly appreciate about Bubs is that they keep things simple. Hydration, collagen, and creatine. Real tools that support real people trying to perform better, recover better, and simply show up better for their life. I use their products consistently, whether it's hydration after training, collagen to support recovery, or creatine for performance, strength, brain health, and longevity. These are staples in my routine. But what I really respect is the mission behind the brand. Bubs truly honors legacy, adventure, service, and living life fully. If you're an athlete, an entrepreneur, a parent, a weekend warrior, or somebody truly trying to feel a little bit more human in your body, give them a look. Use code ALLSMITH to support your wellness, your journey, and support what we're building here with the ALLSMITH podcast. Because feeling better isn't just about vanity, it's about capacity. And capacity changes lives. Make the rest of your life the best of your life. A great measurable related to that is when you're leaving a conversation, who leaves you wanting to go like crush a mountain and do something insurmountable?
Yep.
And then who do you leave like, oh my gosh, my battery's dead. I just have to lay on my back for like 2 hours to recharge. Yeah. And I really do challenge people to like sit with that and like really be with that, because it doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. And I think I wrestled with that for a little bit where I felt, man, like I'm going to have to leave this person for a little while. It doesn't mean forever. Yep. Just at least for now, like, I think the analogy that I think about is like when you're hiking to the top of the mountain, not everybody gets to go with you. They might walk with you for a little bit, but then they want to go see something and I want to keep going, or I want to go see something different. And just as a metaphor, I think it's okay to let people go, knowing that the right people are going to magnetize again when the time is right. And the other thing that's really interesting for me, Kyle, that I think you do a great job of, we talked about the lonely chapter. We talked about letting people go. We talked about some of these things that like they're very beautiful in theory. Yeah. But the big thing that's required of them is tension. Tension is one thing when you have a commitment to your wife and you guys have a child and it's like, hey, we're going to have this conversation right now. Yep. Whether it's financial, whether it's planning, whether it's emotional, whether it's where we want to live, or big conversations. But for people that aren't like tethered to you in this contractual agreement in some ways, some people are just like, F you, man. Like, I'm out. Yeah. Never speaking to you again. And I find that like, especially in business, like my producer, the people that I work with, the people that I connect with, those that are just willing to be like, let's put the cards on the table. Yep. Here's how I'm feeling. Here's why. Here's how you're feeling. Here's why. Yep. let's have the hard conversation and let's vocalize it, because otherwise tensions are eventually going to build, and it's going to go to a worse place than it could go if we just have that hard eye-to-eye conversation. How have you accepted and allowed yourself to be an active participant within tensionous, hard conversations? Because I'm a huge believer that the most successful people are comfortable having hard conversations.
I resonate with this so much. You put it so eloquently. So I think it's so important, but you got to be proactive. And like I've said once or twice or 3 times already, guess what? You got to have hard conversations with yourself first and be willing to look yourself in the mirror and look at yourself. Well, what are you not taking responsibility for? What are you not taking ownership for? Because I think sometimes I have thought that same way about friendships of like, I'm doing all of these things and all of that. And it's like, well, what am I looking for in return? Maybe sometimes they're going through a period and I need to help, them through that stage. And I think relationships, sometimes people get into the wars of like, it has to be 50-50. Sometimes in a season, it can be 80-20. But guess what? They should be reciprocal and sometimes give that back. Me and my wife, especially with the son now and a dog, sometimes it is like 70-30, her to me. Sometimes it is opposite, whatever. But we always make it to 100%. And we always know we try to have proactive, what we call them growth conversations, where it's just like, let's put everything out on the table. Let's ask the hard questions. Let's put it all here so that, like you said, it's not bubbling up and bubbling over. And it's not underneath all of our interactions throughout the month or throughout the week where you're thinking about that thing. Good news is we've been with each other for over 13 years. We know when something's on each other's. It's like, and you can see it, you can feel it. And so these growth conversations are great because, again, it's not personal attacks. This is, okay, this is how I feel, and this is like my opinion, my way I'm viewing it. How are you taking that in? How can I be better? How can I show up? So again, it's like you're putting all these things out, not as a personal attack. And I try to do the same thing with friends that, like you said, you're going through that period where maybe it's like, is this still, and I hate to use the language serving me, but is this still reciprocal energy? And sometimes you have to kind of like talk about it straight. And I think for me, I value my time, energy, and attention way more now that I have a son. But like, that is very, very valuable. It's our most valuable asset. You can't just give that away. You can't just loan that out to doom scrolling into all of these things. Now, yes, you're not going to optimize every minute of your time with something that's going to be beneficial, but I would rather spend that time going, having an experience. I would rather spend that time with my son. I'd rather spend that time with my dog, with my wife, doing things, being out in the world. And I think sometimes people might not be able to see eye to eye on those things, or they might not see you because they're not at that stage yet. And that's okay. But you got to be comfortable and confident in those shoes, in that moment, in that season of life, to be like, hey, the energy doesn't seem reciprocal. I think this is a stage where I just need to do X, Y, or Z, or I just need to be X, Y, or Z. And when it comes to relationships, it's not going to be 50-50 all the time. So understand that there's going to be flexibility there, but be proactive. Have the conversations, plan them. So it's not like I'm going to have the conversation because something came up. It's we're going to have the conversation every week, every month. And if there's stuff that comes up, great. If not, hey, talk about how you can explore the edges. Talk about how you can push each other. Talk about how you can make sure that you are living out the values. Me and my wife, we have a values statement. Like we have values that we like wrote out when we've, maybe like 4 or 5 years into dating. And like, it's our relationship values. And so we talk about these things and we're like, we wrote all of these things as things we really prioritize, we really care about. How are we doing towards that? Are we living these values each and every day? It's a good question to ask yourself before you go to bed. Like, did I make myself better today? Or did I live in accordance to my values? Sometimes the answer could be no. Then it's like, hey, how can I do that tomorrow? Sometimes the answer is yes. Hey, how can I do better tomorrow? And so I think these reflective things, like we live so much of our day, we talk about this at COYA, we live so much of our day in reception mode, inputs, ads, digital media, all this stuff, just tasks, work, all these things, input. How much time do we get to pause, to reflect, to breathe, to be with ourselves, to be bored? It's like some people, the only time they get is when their head hits the pillow and they go to sleep. And then guess what? They can't sleep because their mind's racing with all of these thoughts that they haven't gotten out throughout the day. And it talks, like you talked about it, critical thinking, like how much are we, I have so many, back then when I was working like hard grind phase, all of that stuff, it was like, I'd have so many days where I did a lot of things, but I didn't get anything done.
You mistaked activity for production.
100%.
And what I'm curious about based on the things that you're saying is we're so hard on ourselves, but we're harder on others. Judgment culture is huge, right? Like if you make the active decision to spend time with your son, with your wife, with your dog, and you decide to post that to a story, now people are like, oh, you know, he said he wasn't available, but clearly, you know, he was doing this instead of that. Yep. It's like my best relationships want that. Yep. Like now as I've, you know, I'm 36 now, as I'm approaching 40, when I say no, it's not a mean thing. I just don't feel the need to fill the gap anymore. Yep. Hey, I'm not interested. Why? It's not your business. That's not like a mean thing. It's just I want to prioritize this instead of that. Yep. And I think the right people understand that. And those that are judgmental, typically, they're wrestling with something themselves. Yeah. And younger me, Kyle, developed this hero complex where I'm like, well, I have to be everything for everybody. And I'd like say this to my wife when we first got married. I'm like, well, I want to spend time with you, and I feel like I need to recharge over here, but these people need me, da-da-da. Yep. And I didn't really know how to draw that boundary. Yep. And I remember when my mom passed, I hired a coach, and we have these types of hard conversations, and he punched me in the face with this statement. And not that I was trying to be God, but I wanted to try to live radical like Jesus. I read that book, and I was like, whoa, like that's super cool. I want to be a man of service. And in times of being lost, I felt that, well, if I help other people succeed, I'll always be okay. And I feel like that was almost the rope that helped me climb out of my version of rock bottom. So I was like, well, if that worked, why not keep doing it? And then you realize, well, you can't foster a family and a relationship and a business with that ideology, because then you're never really present because you're trying to save people all the time. Yep. And so he punched me in the face with that statement. He said, you are not God. Yeah. And I didn't even realize that because I wasn't thinking of it that way. That wasn't the intention, but that was my action. And so to fast forward a little bit, now when I'm looking at relationships, Kyle, I don't always listen to people's words and their intention. I watch how they interact with everything, and it makes things a little bit more black and white. Oh, you say this, but now over the course of 5 to 6 months, this has been your behavior. Okay, like I don't believe you. And I'm not going to say that. I'm not just going to be mean, but I am going to be a little bit distanced of hey, you're saying that because it's a manipulation strategy to get something that you desire. Yep. And I don't even know that it's conscious. But for you, in your observation of relationships, now looking at intention versus action, it makes it pretty easy to make the decision as to where you want to spend your time.
Yeah, very well said. I have nothing to add to that other than, we are what we repeatedly do. And I think watching people's actions, watching how they show up, if someone says Kyle, I want to support you, I'm writing books. And a lot of people want to support that, and that's great and awesome. Like the best way to actually support it is to open up, read a few pages. If it resonates with you, pass it on to someone. I don't need you to just buy the book and have it sit on the shelf and never touch it again. Like that actually is not that helpful to me. But I think, again, supporting me, there's ways you can show that. There's ways you can take action towards that. But I think people want to show that they're supporting me, not actually sometimes support me. And
that hits the nail on the head. So here's my next question. This is a big one.
Uh-oh.
The biggest supporters we have since looking at the actions within a self-assessment and with looking at the numerical values since starting our company are from strangers. People that subscribe to the podcast, people that follow our channels, people that purchase our apparel, people that come in to train. It's funny that friends and family are usually like, hey, just hook me up, dog. Hey, let me just come in for a session. It's all fun. But when I go to my friends' places and they try to give me a discount, I'm like, I'm not interested. I want to pay full price. Yep. Or I have friends that own barbershops. I'm like, no, I try to go during the holidays and I try to give a good tip. So I'm like, hey, this is going to go to your family. Yep. I almost want to ask for discounts from strangers, but then overpay for my friends. Yep. Why is that backwards in the business world, man?
Yeah, if I had a good answer, I would tell you, but man, it is so true. And I think that, people think since they're associated with you, like I don't know, maybe we're part of the climb or part of it all. And so it's like, oh, I get to share in that success, which I think that's great. My wife, my son, my mom, all those people, like 100%. And they've supported me in getting to that. And I have it in the acknowledgments of like, this book doesn't happen if I don't have a wife that's supporting, if that lets me write, if I don't have a son that wakes me up every morning that I want to get to the pages and write because I know this is leaving a legacy that he'll then touch. My mom, who's been supportive since day one of all my wildest dreams, no matter how off the rails they go. And I'm like, those people you need. But you then have it's like the real friends, deal friends. You have the people that are kind of like, I just want to take a piece of that success and like use it or, exploit it or use it for myself. But I think when you have a business or a newsletter or a podcast or anything, and you see those people that know nothing about you, they just support the work that you're doing, it lights a flame and fire that you can't kind of extinguish. Because for me, it's like if one person reads Move, Thrive, and Come Alive and Change, boom, done. I won. That's it. Yeah. I didn't do it for money. Like my first book, I spent thousands of dollars to publish that book. I was not doing that for money. I do it because I truly want to empower people to have agency, empower people to redefine on their own terms what it means to be healthy, as opposed to taking it from some influencer or some place that, is somebody trying to mold you into something that maybe isn't you. And so with writing books, with doing all of these things, it's like, I think you have to, again, take in the support that you're getting and use it as fuel and flame. But usually the ones that you don't expect coming, the ones that are from the people that you don't expect, those are, like you said, the ones that really light you up the most, because you're like, someone took this thing and was grateful for it and used it to do something better in their lives. And I think that's what we're all after, honestly.
Well said, man. Edgar Allan Poe, he had a quote that said, all that you see or seem is nothing but a dream within a dream. And what comes to mind for me is like perception is not reality. And it's a relatively controversial statement. Yep. But now, especially with like documentation of things, I know in like the fitness space, it's like, oh, if you didn't video it, it didn't happen. Oh, yeah. It's a funny thing. But I will say, like, I want to reference the woman that plays with Caitlin Clark. What's her name? With the
Sophie Cunningham.
Yeah, and from what I understand, she practices jiu-jitsu. She's close to a black belt, I think, in jiu-jitsu. Wow. But you can tell in the way she confidently carries herself and the way she's not overly provocative with her words. Yep. She has convictions that she stays with. She's happy to do a point. Yep. And like when things do get physical, like she handles herself well, knowing very well, like, hey, I put in the reps. Yep. I can handle myself. If something gets physical, I know the exact intangibles of what to do. Yep. This is not ego. This is not, adrenaline. This is me understanding that I put in the reps and the sets to be the human that can then execute the thing and calm my nervous system when it's needed. Yeah. And the thing that comes to mind, especially with writing a book, you make the sacrifice to wake up in the morning to write. We talk about writing fills the gaps within the thinking. The world sees a book come out and the perception is, another product. Oh, they're selling this thing. Oh, it's on Amazon. Oh, it's on this. Oh, they're pushing the book. They're not thinking about the way you're thinking, which is, man, I really didn't want to write that day, but I figured out how to put some blood, sweat, and tears and really narrow my focus on a topic that I thought would be really valuable to people. Yep. And I noticed that this was coming up in conversations or during coaching sessions or at this seminar or at this conference that I went to, and I'm going to take all of that and I'm going to put it into a digestible fashion, into a one-stop shop that's the equivalent of psychological and cerebral Amazon or Costco for people to open and have access to 10 to 15 minutes a day, which can actually change their life. Yep. But the world doesn't think that way. No. It used to. It used to be like, dude, Kyle, that's so sick that you put in this work and you have this thing. I want to celebrate you. I want to unpack this. Not only do I want to read your words and your lessons and your advice and your suggestions, but I want to know your process. I think it's so cool. Like, I want to write a book one day. I've not done it yet, so I can't sit here on a high horse and know exactly what that looks like, but I have an idea. Yeah. And I've tried to do certain things, and I've done a podcast and a newsletter, and I know how hard that is to be consistent. Mm-hmm. And that's like something that like sort of lives on the internet, but disappears into the ethos. This lives forever, which also takes another level of courage where people can take your words and they can judge you, they can poke you, they can pry you, they can try to bring you down, they can try to sue you. There's so much courage and risk that comes with that. When I say perception is not reality in relation to this particular product and the things that you've done recently, what comes to mind?
Man, the thousands of hours spent behind the covers and pages of these books, living these things, experiencing these things. I wrote this book for me. I wrote this book for the people I work with. I wrote this book for people I've never met. I wrote this book for fitness enthusiasts, athlete, everybody. And I think that it's a living, breathing thing. I wanted this book to not be something that sits on shelves. I want this book to be opened and used and then go out and do and then come back and experiment. And, you know, it should be something that is lived. And so for me, the perception of like, hey, like you wrote a book, like, you know, are you doing it, like you said, for your brand, for money, for this, for that? It's like, man, the amount of years that it took to get this book to where it is, like there's just so much behind that. And that's why I love books. Like, you think about some of the best books out there, some of the greatest minds in the history of this earth took the time to distill information that might be complex, that might be out of reach for you, and distill it into a way that you can understand it, and better yet, go apply it in your life. We're sitting on a gold mine of these things, ideas, these evolutions that we could just grab and hold and take in. And so for me, it was like, I get to leave a legacy. I get to model these things. I get to give this out to people that I know can use it. And it's a tool. It's something, like I said, that, I'll never take it for granted because the writing process is hard. I've learned a lot. I wouldn't even say I've, mastered any of this. I'm still learning, but it's another medium. Like you said, I write books. I like to podcast. I like to write newsletters. I write poems. However you can kind of express ideas to get it to resonate with people, to get it to move them from knowing to doing, from knowledge to action, that is what I'm all about. And if I can do that via a book, if I can do that via my voice, if I can do that via coaching in person, like I want to make sure that I am doing everything in my power to move people across that chasm that is knowing to doing or knowledge to action. And that's the most powerful jump. It's the hardest jump, and everybody makes it seem easy, but it takes blood, it takes sweat, it takes tears, it takes consistency, it takes environment, it takes motivation, all of these things into one. And so if I can give people some of that push, some of that kick to go in that path, to bridge that gap, I'm going to keep doing it. And so I'll keep writing books. I'll keep getting on podcasts with excellent people and thinkers like yourself, who I think conversation is a great way for people to be like, I see myself in Bryce, or I see myself in Kyle. And I feel that. And I think that's important as well, because again, maybe you're not a person that reads, maybe it's audiobooks, maybe it's podcasts, but how can we get people to feel something so that they can get out of the listening to the podcast and into the going and doing the thing that they need
love
to do.
That, man. Kyle, I'm not going to lie, man. I'm not impressed very often. You impress me. Here's why, though. And I think it's very apparent to our listeners and our consumers and our watchers that you do the work. Like, it's very obvious when somebody can articulate things with different tone, be okay with pause, not feel the need to fill every single empty space, be able to speak to different types of demographics, like you talked about, athletes, parents, people that are transitioning, people that might be navigating anxiety or depression, and understand that these are simply tools, these are frameworks to help get you to action, because the work works, but getting you to do the work is the hard part. And you're not afraid to say that. You're not trying to sell an ideological GLP-1 of like, hey, just like read my book and your life will change forever. It's like, read my book and then try one or two things from it. And then, bookmark a couple things. There might be some things you need to revisit because you're not ready for them yet. But then when you do the first thing, it'll create momentum and kind of stack some blocks. And now you got to the next level of the video game. Let's go play that now. And I like that idea that you're building. You're a man of service. But I didn't realize this when I first started the podcast. People were like, dude, how do you speak this way? Like, it seems like poetic, or it seems like just different. And I was like, I don't know, like I have conversation with so many people within a day. And I didn't realize each one of those is kind of an individual podcast. I might be talking to a Navy SEAL, and then I might be talking to a mother of 3 with a hurt hip. Yep. Then I might be talking to somebody that, is a construction worker that needs a little bit of love in the gym. And I might be talking to somebody that's like a big time surfer that doesn't really care about fitness, but wants to go surf the biggest waves in the world.
Yep.
There's a lot of diversity in that within, an hour to 90-minute session. I didn't realize like the different tools you need to navigate those things, but I did realize later that it translated really well to podcasting. Yep. It's interesting to me that you have that skill. You can write it, you can read it, you can do it, you can play with it. And now it's becoming this like tangible, malleable thing where I'm just really excited to watch you keep creating. Because very rarely do I sit across from somebody and I'm like, oh, you're impressive in all aspects of life. There's normally people I'm like, oh, you're a business phenom or you're an athletic phenom, but I'm looking at you and we talk about, I've upgraded it over the course of the last few months, but the 7 F's: faith, family, fitness, finances, fun, fashion, and friendships. And that to me are the 7 spokes within the wheel of life. And in the center is kind of like wellness and fitness and health, because without that, there's no nucleus to build off of that allows the wheel to go. Yep. And I mean, this from like the EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. Mm-hmm. If you looked at those 7 F's and had to assign a score, I would argue that you're like 7 or above in all of them. Wow. And you meet some people that are like, dang, you're like a 10 over here, but you're like a 2 over there. Your spoke might break. And I'm in pursuit of trying to get all of them to your level. So it's just something I've noticed, man. Like not everybody's really there. And I'm sure there's certain things you're like, dude, you're giving me a lot more credit than I deserve because you see things that I can't see. Yep. But I appreciate the practice. Yep. And that's one of my favorite things around like the yoga experience, around podcasting, around writing. Yep. It is a practice. It's not a perfection, but you have to have the courage to be the man or the woman in the arena. How do you make that decision every single day, knowing that some people like myself, like see you? I'm sure it feels good to be seen on occasion, but then other times you're like drinking down the haterade and you're just like, man, I have to be okay for this too. They don't see it, but that's their perception and that's their opinion. That's okay too. Yep. How have you navigated the feelings of entrepreneurship? Because it doesn't always feel good when you're like, dude, I'm trying to be good in all 7 F's. Yep. And you only see this.
Yeah. First and foremost, I appreciate the kind words. I don't take it lightly coming from someone like yourself. But I think for me, you have to learn how to be steady amidst the chaos. And I think for me, it all stems back to my why. And it all stems back to my purpose and being strong in that, strong in my values and understanding and defining those. And that took some time, and it's always evolving in terms of what those things are and why I want to, be the person I want to be and how I want to show up for the people in my life. But that burns inside of me greater than any obstacle you can put in front of me. And so I know that I won't always be perfect, but I know I will always show up. And so whether that means in friendship, whether that means in family, whether that means in fitness, whether that means in any of these categories, I will show up and continue to get better because I have set a standard for myself. And I know that, again, when I can keep that standard, I know the energy I can give back to all of these areas of my life. And so I've, again, laid that path for myself. And it's not like a bar that I set that it's like over or under the bar. It's just showing up consistently. And so we hear consistency over intensity, progress over perfection. And so for me, it's really about, and I do the man on a mission and all of these different things. For me, it is really about proving to myself that I can do what I say I'm going to do, proving to myself that I can show up even when it's hard, proving to myself that I can be the person I know I can be, and proving to myself that I know there's more. And so for me, it comes down to exploring, learning, inspiring, continuing to grow. And that's in all of these areas. And so
why is proving to yourself enough? Because I work with a lot of people that they've proven to themselves that they'll show up in certain circumstances in life. Maybe not all circumstances. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's why they feel a certain way. But I definitely coach certain people and they're like, Bryce, I keep showing up to the gym, to my work, to my thing. I don't have the money yet. I don't have the fitness yet. I don't have the girl yet. I don't feel satisfied. I don't feel like I'm enough. how do we upgrade or sharpen the sword of showing up? Because there are levels to that game. I showed up and I had a bad attitude and I kind of checked the box and I didn't really give my best.
Yep.
But then there's, hey, I showed up excited for what could be.
Yep.
I showed up excited for the person that I am and the person that I am becoming, not for the person that is in the future that I'm just addicted to the outcome and not addicted to the process.
Yep.
How do you relate that ideological component to people who maybe don't have total buy-in to the phrase show up?
Yeah, this is such a great point. And I think I'll steal from James Clear because he puts it so clearly, no pun intended. He talks about having outcome goals is the outer layer, process goals, you're getting a little bit deeper, and then identity goals. And that's exactly what you just talked about. A lot of people that come to me and they're like, Kyle, all right, I've been showing up, but I haven't lost the weight, or I've been showing up, but I haven't gotten the six pack yet. That's an outcome that you're looking for. That's an end state. We need to try and prioritize around goals that have no end state. Like I said, I want to be a better father. I want to be present. I want to X, Y, Z. I can't get to that goal, but guess what? I can continue showing up and being better. I want to be the type of person who blank, blank, blank. And I think that is where we need to be as identity goals. Or, the next step of process goals isn't bad. I want to build better habits. I want to build better systems. Those can help a ton, whether it's fitness, health, nutrition, sleep. Those are great. Getting to the identity goals, how many people do we know? And we grew up in the 90s of like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Sleep is for the weak. I was one of those people like, no, I don't need sleep. I'm going to keep grinding. I'm going to go work out again. But like, again, that's a mindset. That's an identity. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. People talk about all the time. It's like, okay, negative things and negative beliefs and all of that can make you down, depressed, suppress your immune system. There's real scientific stuff around that. Why can't the opposite be true? Positive thinking, positive intention, positive action can lead to you, again, repairing your nervous system, to, again, being aligned with how you want to live, being aligned with your values. There's some real self-fulfilling prophecies on that. Ali Crum out of Stanford, she talks about belief effects. That's a real thing. And so I think the power of the mind, this is our most powerful tool. And we have coaches for fitness. We have coaches for nutrition. We have coaches for sleep now. We have coaches. How many people have a coach for their mind? Or how many people dedicate time to training their mind or being with their mind? Mindfulness tools, proactive breath work, meditation, body scans, journaling, whatever it is. Spend some time to hone that tool and try to have these identity-based goals where it is, again, it is never ending. It is all the journey. There is no destination.
I love that you say that, man. It makes me feel seen because when I hired my coach, the number one vocal complaint that I have was, hey, I'm loved for what I do, not for who I am. And he said, well, who are you? And, like anybody, I listed off, my resume.
Yep.
I went to LinkedIn and kind of listed down. And he's like, that's not who you are. That's what you've done. You're loving yourself for what you do, not for who you are or not. That's when it really opened my eyes big. The things you typically desire are also the things that you need.
Yeah.
If you want to if you want to be loved, then love. If you want people to check in on you and feel like they give a shit, then you should give a shit.
Yep.
And it's fascinating because a lot of people show up and they're physically kind of there, but mentally they're somewhere else.
Yep.
And that's where I want to push people because it's funny to me, like social media is a great variable. Yep. How many people look at the stories and are consumers, but like they don't comment, they don't check in, they don't really like try to support in any way.
Yep.
But then like you're the topic of conversation at their weekly gossip dinner.
Yep.
It's a funny thing to me around like, I don't know, like let's just say hey. And the reason why I bring that up is because we're very quick to judge, but something that my wife and I work on that's very important is words of affirmation. The book, The 5 Love Languages, is a great one because, sure, not every love language resonates with people. I've been conditioned from sports where, like, you could say things to me and they're like words or noises coming from my mouth. I'm used to getting cussed out by coaches. So it's like, I don't know, like for a long time, I'd be like, words are words. I don't really need them. Yep. But to my wife, they're really important.
Yep.
So I've come to realize that like, whoa, I don't just want to have conversations with her when there's grievances. I want to let her know that like this morning was a great example. I created like a little man cave in the garage, and I have this process before podcasts that like, hey, the night before I do my preparation. Yep. And then the hour before, I'm like, hey, I just need some quiet time to zone in. Yep. I get into my 528 frequency on Spotify.
Love it.
I get my energy down the right path. I get more nasal breathing, belly breathing, and just think, okay, what energy do I want to bring into this conversation today? And how much gratitude do I have that Kyle came all the way down during his vacation from LA to here? Like, I want to hold that space so that he feels loved and appreciated. My wife knows that, and I've communicated because unexplained expectations are premeditated resentments. So then she realizes, wow, the best thing I can do for Bryce right now is just to give him that space. Yep. And then she went to Legree, a version of Pilates, and she shoots me a text and she goes, hey, I really appreciate like the hard work that you put into your craft. And I know the world doesn't see it yet, but I have the privilege that I get to. And I just want you to feel that as you approach your podcast today. And like, dude, I teared up. I was just like, wow, how lucky am I to pursue this craft with great people? And maybe the world doesn't see it yet, but my favorite person does. And then I thought to myself, when you think of the person, text them. When you think, hey, this person's doing a really good job, and maybe it's not landing on the Instagram or landing somewhere, like shoot them a text back, hey, I see you. I saw that you chose the protein instead of the Chick-fil-A yesterday. I saw that you made this decision instead of that decision. And even if I didn't see it, I know you're thinking about it and I appreciate you. Why don't we do more of that?
That's hitting deep in my soul because I know what my wife has gone through to allow me to be the person that I've been and to accomplish the things that I've accomplished. And none of that is possible without her. And I remember I wrote my first book and I told her every day after dinner, that's when I'm going to do my writing. And so she was like, okay, well, I'll try and make dinner more often then and like leave you to that. And like, that's going to bed alone for her sometimes. That's hearing me frustrated because I have writer's block. That's making dinner and cleaning up sometimes. And like that period resonates so hard for me because it's just like, she doesn't understand, like she's starting to understand how much this is burning to me of like, this is something I really want to do and carry out. There was no like, oh, like I got to do this. It was like, again, unequivocally, yes, like I'm going to do this because I know how much this means to you. And that, like the power of that, then that gives to the person who's doing the thing, it made me want to do it at the best ability that I can be, show up for her, find other ways that I can reciprocate that. And so that's what you're talking about is just, having these people in your life. And I think for me, seeing different people and experiences and traveling and all of that helps me better see people for who they are and helps me, again, like you said, call those things out. And so, for me, it's like I said, having conversations with people. We have a guy, he's homeless. He stays right outside of our place. Every day we walk our dog, we walk by him. 99% of people walk right by him, don't even see him as a human being. We stop with our dog, we have a conversation with him. His smile, that just lights me up. And
that's cool.
Nobody is watching me. This is not performative. I'm not doing this for any reason, but like having a conversation with a human being, like we're all humans. We all share that. And so for me, I try not to look up or down. I try not to punch down on people. I try not to say that I know more because we're all learning. Like in science, especially science, it's like we're never right. We're just a little less wrong. And so for me, it's like I'm always navigating that journey. But traveling, going to different countries, meeting different people, it allows you to be able to go deep with people. It allows you to be able to see the different flavors and colors of human beings that we have on this world and appreciate the different imperfections, appreciate the different cultures, appreciate how people do things and do life maybe a little bit differently. And of course, you can steal little secrets of all of that. And I think that is one of the best things we can do is be around people who motivate us, be around people who challenge us, be around people who see us, be around people who make us think, be around people who make us emotional, all of these different things. And so I think as humans, we're complex human beings, but modern life is trying to make us all into the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so I saw a quote somewhere. I'm going to butcher it, but I'll try at it. It's like, being yourself is so hard in a world that's trying to make you the same. And so that is such a powerful thing. Nobody can be yourself. Nobody can write, move, thrive, and come live the way I did. And so AI is another thing. Like, I had AI for this book, but not my first one. The pull to just be like, oh, AI could probably write this a little better for me. It's like, no, that defeats the purpose of writing a book that's Kyle Gonzalez. That is not Kyle Gonzalez. And so for me, it's like, how can I be uniquely myself? How can I make sure that I'm showing up in the world as myself so that, again, I can, be one with my imperfections, so that I can see people for who they are, so that I'm not putting up a mask. Guess what? If I'm putting up a mask, what are you going to do? You're going to kind of go back into your shell. And so what I appreciate about you is you help me just, one, get to the deep areas very quickly and critically think, but also you see me, you hear me, and like when we have conversations, I feel something. And I think that's lost in today's world. A lot of conversations, you're like, your mind's somewhere else. You don't feel something. You're not getting deep. And so getting on a podcast, talking with someone who sees you, hears you, wants to challenge you, wants to learn from you, wants to grow with you, wants to, take part in your journey. It's like that is something that I applaud like 10 times over.
I love that you spend time with the homeless man outside.
Oh,
you don't
great.
judge him.
Jorge, he's amazing.
That's cool, man. When you look at ideal marriage advice, we talked a little bit about the scorecard.
Yep.
Some people are like, hey, it should be 50-50. Reciprocity is important in some capacity, but there's seasons of that. There's percentage-based variation over the course of what's going on in life.
Yeah.
We're both at that age now. When you get over 30, some of your friends are deeply in love. They're having kids. It's hard, but they're doing the thing.
Yep.
Some people are like, man, that first choice that I had wasn't so good. They're in the midst of divorce.
Yep.
When I zoom out and I'm the observer of a lot of those conversations, it's people not seeing other people. And I'll use your example as an analogy. You're deciding after work to sit down and write.
Yep.
That's a measurable that you could very easily flex. Hey, this is something that's going to, fulfill our family goals. Like this is a legacy thing for our child and our future children.
Yep.
You could create a hierarchy. Like it's not that hard to make dinner. It's not that hard to clean up. Yep. But then that depreciates what she's doing. And I see it time and time again where certain women are like, oh my gosh, like there's no way he could be what he is if I'm not taking care of the home and nourishing him with this food. And they kind of flex. Yeah. And then I see the other side sometimes where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm the provider. I'm the one that puts the roof over your head and pays all the blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then that's a flex. And it's this battle of like egos. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that either one is right. And I don't think that either one is wrong. No. They're just not allowing themselves to be seen. And I think just understanding, hey, in this season of life, I'm going to be working, I'm going to be writing the book, or I'm going to be doing the things out in the field. Yeah. For you to hold the space and the container of the home would be really valuable because there's no way that I have the energy to do that and this. Yeah. And if I do both, like I might be able to last for a season, but it's going to be pretty tough. And she might be the other way, like, hey, I want to make sure that our child is raised with optimal values and is safe. I don't want to go to urgent care all the time. I want to make sure that like these formative years, they understand, the energy and field and nourishment of not just the food, but the touch and the connection and the eye contact and playing in the world. From a marriage perspective, not just for us sitting here at this table, but for other people, how do we get people to have that conversation of like, hey, this is your role today, this is my role today, but like, it's subject to flow, to switch, on days that you probably did the dishes. On days that you probably cooked. On days that she needed to, she was probably out in the world doing things that were contributing to the family or even herself, which also contributes to the family. How do you share that ideology with the world where people, it's like either or, it's like, no, it could be and it has adaptability case depending on the day. Yep.
This is great, and I'm no expert on it all, but me and my wife have been together for a long time. We've been through every up, every down the relationship could go through, and I think for us, there's just a bedrock, a foundation that we sit on of we know our values, We know what we want to do and what we want to, like, our shared values, our personal values and our shared values in a relationship. We also understand that, like you said, it goes back to the very first quote, clear with where you want to go, flexible in how you get there. It's the same thing with the marriage. It's just like, we're clear with what we want to do. We want to build a strong family. We want to build strong traditions. We want to build, behaved kids. We want to, bring energy and vigor and life and experiences to our kids and to our family and to each other. We have that bedrock that we sit on, but it takes a lot of maintenance to make sure there's no cracks in that foundation and to fill those cracks before they come up and while they're very, very small. And so that's the growth conversations. That's the taking care of our fitness, taking care of our sleep, taking care of our nutrition. That is the calling each other out and holding each other accountable. My wife always used to, when we first started dating, I was the basketball player. I'm working out every day. She was scared to call me out because she's like, I'm not working out every day. I'm not doing all these things. Who am I to kind of like call you out on those things if I'm not doing it? And it's like, now we're at the stage where we both can check each other in the right way. The way I do it is way different than the way she does it. The way she needs to hear it is different than the way I need to hear it. We've understood those boundaries. We've understood how to hold each other accountable. But we know that standard. We keep that standard. We have that foundation. And then on top of that, like, we have to just enjoy being with each other, enjoy life, enjoy all of these things. And so we never, ever lose sight of us. And so whether that's date nights, whether that's travel. Right now, my son is back home. He's not with us. He's back home in LA with my mom, having a jolly old time. We are doing this trip for her and for us. And so we haven't lost sight of that. We traveled the world for 5 months. Caden was in the belly at that time, but like, we can't lose sight of that. Because as soon as we lose sight of that, everything starts to crumble. And I want to make sure that physically, emotionally, mentally, intellectually, we are still like hard attracted to each other and really want to be around each other and all of those things. And I don't know if we have any secrets or anything, but we are. And we've made it to this stage where we're just like, man, we love each and every day and we love what the future holds, but we're not in a rush to get to that future. We're in love with where we are right now. We're in love with actually just loving the moment that we're in right now. And that's a beautiful thing. And I think when you can see eye to eye with someone, live out some of these things in a shared value way and just kind of share some experiences with another human being, it's just like, I don't know. I cherish the commitment. I cherish, like, in the world today, it's like, you have, I'm sure you have friends as well. It's like you have some friends that are like, they love the optionality and like, they love like, oh, I can do this, I can do that. And I'm like, I had a season of life that maybe was like that, but like, man, I love that I don't have the stress of optionality. Like, I love that I am in a committed relationship with the woman that I love, with the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with and have these experiences with. And that is so powerful because, like, for me, traveling is a thing I think of a lot, or eating or whatever, but like traveling by yourself is great, but like doing it and experiencing it with another human who's, again, sharing those values and sharing those things, it's a special thing. And so have experiences, talk about your values, communicate proactively and often, make sure that you're having the hard conversations, hold each other accountable to what you want to achieve, and don't lose sight of your own goals and your own values, because I think that's me writing. That's for my wife. She loves photography. And every time I'm like, you haven't picked up that camera in a while, like maybe you should go like do this thing and I can take care of Caden and the dog and go. And so like we have to check each other on that, because it is easy. Like, going through pregnancy for a woman, oh my God, I'm not even going to even begin to think about.
They're so much tougher than us.
So much tougher than us. And so I had the book story. Maybe the reciprocal is like, she's going through this incredibly hard experience emotionally, her body changing, psychologically, all of these different things. And so I always get dads that laugh at me. Like, for like the first couple of years, I like do all of the wake ups. Like when Caden wakes up in the middle of the night, I'm on that. And so in the beginning, she was breastfeeding. She had to be incorporated. But like, dads are like, oh, you do all the wake ups? Like, that's crazy. Like, doesn't Courtney like do? And I'm like, no, like there's no rule book that says mother has to do wake ups for eternity. It's like, and so for me, it's like, how can I repay some of these things? How can I be reciprocal in that? And so now it's just like cooking the dinners. So again, we have these things that we pay each other back and forth, but nobody's keeping the score. It's like, we actually do laugh about it sometimes when it's like, sometimes when I'll just be like, oh, since I did this, can we do that for me? And so we'll laugh at like, no, we're keeping the score. And like, we say we don't want to play tit for tat. Like that's not how we ever want the relationship to be.
And it's going to come up sometimes.
For sure.
Right? Like, and I think it should, because if there's seasons of life that like inevitably there is a comfort crisis that's like, shoved down our throat day to day.
Yep.
So inevitably it's like, Kyle's got this. I'm going to sit back and do this thing. He perceivingly enjoys this, so I'm just stay out of his way. Little do you know, it's like, hey, it's kind of nice when you're just like, hey, you go sit back a little bit. And I think it goes back to just this thing, man. When my parents were alive, they used to say all these things, and I'd be like, okay, I get it. Shut up. Like, you say it all the time. But my dad said this thing that was seemingly so profound before he passed. He pulls me over and he whispered, because he didn't have a lot of energy to speak, and he goes, always be dating. And when I think about that, it's like, it's not just with my wife, it's with friendships. It's checking in with people. And like, I don't have the same bandwidth that I once had before I started a business and got married and started a social club and doing consulting and the podcast. Like the plate's pretty full now. Yep. But I can shoot a text on occasion. I can send a voice note on occasion. I can send some memes every now and then. There's ways to kind of do what penguins do, which is pebble. Right? But then to take that even further, when you think about dating and you think about the optionality that people are kind of in pursuit of in single culture and swipe culture and all the dating apps and all the things, in some ways, your wife is a different person every day, right? There's times where you come home and you got a haircut and you're kind of different. Yeah. You got a little pep in your stub. You're feeling yourself on the lineup whatever the thing was. Sometimes she gets her nails done. Yep. And she's feeling good about herself. Maybe she did some sort of skincare routine or her eyelashes or did something. The goal is continually to love each other throughout the different chapters of life, because we are going to change. She's different now as a mom than she was when you guys first dated. Yeah. Your interests now as an author and an entrepreneur are a little different than your interests when you were a basketball player. Yeah. There's kind of options there. You just have to be willing to have the discipline to love somebody throughout all of that. Yep. And you're making the commitment to do so because they're also making the commitment to do so for you. And like, my wife and I do this thing where we're just like, you're my best friend. Yep. And that means that like, sometimes I'm not going to like you. Sometimes I didn't like your tone when you told me to do that thing, but I still honor and respect you. Yep. And that's okay. That's part of the journey. And so I appreciate you sharing that. My mom also used to have a statement that this one was super annoying. I'd go to leave the front door and she'd be like, do it right. Don't do anything you have to look over your shoulder about. Yep. And now I've kind of transitioned that to just do the next right thing. If you put your grocery cart away, you say hello to the homeless man. Yep. If you make a mess, clean it up. Inevitably, like, your life is kind of looking through the forward glass. You're not looking through the rearview mirror all the time. That allows for forward momentum. Yep. And I would say energetically that most people hate stagnation. And once there's stagnation, that's where the scorecard comes out. Mm-hmm. That's where we're not looking ourselves in the mirror. We're looking in the rearview mirror. We're typically frustrated with the past, so we're anxious about the future. Yep. We're craving some sort of control, some sort of certainty. Yep. It sounds to me that you guys have like these honest conversations. Yep. How do you bring them upon just like sitting at the dinner table, or how do they come up? Because I think that's the awkwardness for some couples of like, oh, I'm feeling this thing, but I don't want to bring it up. Yep. And usually, like, we'll go for a walk, and then after some time, like, hey, I just want to be honest with you. Like, let's have this conversation. Yep. How do you guys bring it up so it's not socially awkward, but it lands where it feels not like you're accusational or, like, tensionist, but you're like, hey, I want to put this lob out there, and then we can play back and forth.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think you just touched on one of them, which is we do a lot of walks. We have a dog, but we walk 3 times a day, usually after meals. This is a good, like, free ground, and we try not to do work talk during that time. And so this is just a ground where we get to just converse, look each other in the eye, talk about things, whatever. Sometimes things bubble up there of like, hey, like, this thing happened, or, we'll talk about things. But usually Sundays we'll have like once a month, we'll do like a growth conversation. And with that, we'll take some time to reflect before of like, hey, let's like think about these things. What are the things we want to bring to the table? we try to drop the ego. We try to drop the heavy emotions. No, like really like super like personal jabs or anything. It's just like, again, we're just going to put these things on a table and then let it see where it goes. And so that's why I talk a lot about being proactive with these things. Don't wait until it bubbles up to talk about it. Like, do it before it bubbles up. I love what your dad said about always be dating. I think you hit the nail on the head with something of like, every day that person is different. And I think the more you can see that person and the more that person is striving to grow, the more they are changing. And so who I was 10 years ago, 13 years ago is miles different than who I am now. And I hope that she's continuing to stay in love and fall in love with that Kyle that continues to be different day in and day out, that's pushing himself to be better. I'm still in love with the Courtney that's pushing herself to be better and better. I think a lot of relationships, maybe they fall in love and they start dating or they get married because there is that forward momentum and there's that change and there's that evolution. And then like you said, they hit stagnation and next thing you know, it's like, well, I was in love with the person of 5 years ago or 3 years ago. Where'd that person go? Like that person's gone. And so that's when these things start to happen. And so for us, it's how do we continually, hold ourselves accountable to continuing to learn, get better, grow. And it's not like, oh, we have to like, again, climb mountains and write books and do all of these things. Like, no, these are just micro things and micro behaviors, which attaches to your last point, which is what your mom was mentioning of like how you do anything is how you do everything. I take that serious in a different way of just like how you show up when no one's watching, how you treat the person when no one's looking, how you do the things, and kind of all of those things matter so much because you're either building the habit of, whatever the, non-adaptive thing is, or you're building the habit of the adaptive thing. And so
what
everything
comes
is
to
reps.
mind with that is like my favorite analogy.
Let's hear it.
You're going to laugh. If you pee on the toilet seat, do you leave it or do you wipe it? or if you grab some toilet, and this is typically like a public restroom.
Yep.
If you pull some toilet paper and, some scraps get on the floor, do you pick them up? And that's something that I adopted early on. I heard a business owner say like, hey, if you want to grow in the world, like leave something better than you found it. And I noticed with the restroom, like people would wash their hands, they'd leave water all over the sink. So I always just like have this habit to wipe it down. I can't leave unless I do it just because I'm like, I don't want somebody else to come in there with a shirt and their shirt touches it and now they've got water all over their shirt for their next interaction. I don't want somebody that, has to use the restroom, sit on this toilet seat and be like, man, the person that was here, they probably don't even know it's me. Yep. They didn't clean this space up. Or, hey, there's toilet paper left everywhere. Now their experience when they come into our training facility is like, these people don't pay attention to detail.
Yep.
And so I don't necessarily think that like how you do anything is how you do everything, but I do think that if you get outside of yourself, how is this activity not just going to impact me, but how's it going to impact the world? If I am doing this and if I was wearing a GoPro or God is watching me, would I be proud of what I'm watching? I think that's a pretty cool lens to share with yourself when you pause and you reflect at the end of your day. Did my actions represent the human that I want to become and how I want to impact other people?
Yeah.
That's a pretty simple one for me.
Yeah.
And I like the way you said that. I want to touch on some little quick hitters for you as we start to wrap things up.
Let's do it.
What's your personal non-negotiable every single day?
Walks, I would say. I think walks and just being outside, I think is a personal non-negotiable, especially these days. Even when we were back home, rain, snow, whatever, just getting outside. I think, like I mentioned, 93% of the time we're indoors, and there's something so special. I think this is opened up because we've traveled so much. There's something so special about leaving your phone at home, going for a walk, just feeling the air, breathing it in, seeing the trees, even if there's no trees, hearing the noises. Engage your senses, like engage your five senses. And I think so much time where I saw a stat the other day, or maybe somebody mentioned it to me, 13 hours a day we're engaged with digital media. That's insane. We're awake for what, 15, 16 hours? 13 hours a day we're engaged with digital media. Mm-hmm. And so like something like this where you're talking with someone, do those things, like do human real life things. That is a non-negotiable for me. And luckily my wife works remote, so we can go on walks. We can look at each other. We can laugh. We can tell stories. I can like play with my dog for a little bit. So like real human experiences. So trying to be quick.
IRL in real life.
In real life.
Also, it allows you to feel human Wi-Fi. What's her energy? What's her body language? What are her facial expressions? How's she breathing? Now you can make judgments as to how you're going to respond or react. Yep. The other thing that comes to mind, you've probably seen this before. We may have talked about it on our previous episodes, but The 12-Hour Walk by Colin O'Brady, phenomenal book.
Wow.
And people make fun of him because they're like, bro, you made it as a thought leader by writing a book about putting your phone in airplane mode and just going for a walk.
Yeah.
But he's changed the game, and I think it creates space for the head, the heart, and relationships, and also just processing of ideas. There's this picture that I need to send you. It was life in the 90s, and it was like playing outside in the street, basketball, and then there's like kids with bikes and everything, and it's like starting to get like sunset.
Yep.
And the parents like ringing the bell, like, come in for dinner in 5 minutes or whatever. Yep. And then it's like going back in the day to Blockbuster. Pizza Hut, when it was like, you know, kind of more restaurant-y. Yep. And, you know, you're eating the pizza, watching the Blockbuster, and modern day, we're like, oh, we're all kind of interacting. Now it's like,
I know.
Or, you know, being in nature, you go to the lake, and we're all jumping into the lake. One person's trying to do a kick from Street Fighter. The next person's trying to do a front flip. The next person's trying to do the biggest cannonball. One person's trying to do a pencil. Yep. Now, modern day, it's like selfie.
At the pool, yeah.
And so, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying notice and have some diversification so you can be present and you can also engage on the tools that are available now.
Yeah. Yeah. You would laugh when I open up the book with talking about how like we didn't see movement as exercise as kids. We dropped our backpack and we manhunt, tag, basketball, football, wiffle ball, and then it was dark out. And I was like, oh, okay. Or if I played video games, half the time they would be left on at halftime because we'd be playing basketball after we played the video game. And so,
that's a big one. That's a great example and observation I've not heard in a long time.
I know. It's
GoldenEye, man. We used to play that, but then it'd like stay on because it'd be like, you're like shit talking somebody. You're like, no, I'm going to score a goal on you in soccer, or I'm going to score on you about whatever. It's funny, man. Yep. We talked a little bit about always be dating. I'm curious your thoughts on this one. This one's a little bit deeper. Birth control.
Yep.
Oftentimes, especially with swiping dating culture, women, when they're young and they're dating, they're like, hey, you know, if men are going to play the roster, I want to play the roster too. To protect themselves, justifiably so, they're taking different forms of birth control, shifting their hormones. However, it definitely impacts your sense of pheromones, your sense of smell. And I've actually seen it time and time again where people like fell in love and then she goes off birth control and they don't actually like each other anymore. So hormonally, it's just like created this like disconnect.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that with dating culture and how to navigate that appropriately?
Yeah. Wow. It's a big topic. I can't say that I'm like hard one way or another. I think that ultimately bringing another life into this world is a very, very powerful thing. And so just being responsible with that ability and whatever that means for the woman is that, again, protecting their ability to, you know, date, to have fun, to do all of these things. But like you said, there's the other side of the coin where there is tons and tons of research now, maybe not tons and tons of research. There is research now that is showing that this is altering you as a human being physiologically. Yep. And I think that needs to be taken into account. Ultimately, it is in that woman's decision and it is up to them and it's their body and they control that. And I don't think anybody should be able to regulate or push that on them. But having a son now and just knowing, you know, we both grew up in households, you know, I was a single parent household and how that just, again, it's such a powerful and strong thing to be a parent, to bring another life into this world. And so I would hate to see, you know, things that happen to where you're either having to end a child's life before it begins or you're not giving it the life because you didn't want to have a kid. And so I just say be smart with those decisions and whatever works best for that woman in that time and that season of life, like go for that. But know the risks.
Yeah, I think knowing the risks is important. And also it's tough because that conversation always becomes political as opposed to like specific to the situation.
Yeah.
The other like trickle down from that is there's not really any filtration into water from birth control. So now men are probably consuming it when drinking. Yep. Microplastics everywhere, cloud seeding, all kinds of things in our food. I mean, there's so many different foods that are available in America that are banned in other countries. You know that through travel.
Oh, yeah.
it's easy to get very neurotic on that stuff. I'm just not going to eat this, or I'm going to follow Paul Saladino, or I'm only going to go keto, or, I'm going to just do this, and this. But it's like you're living in a world that you just simply got to do the best with what you got.
Yeah.
And sometimes, case dependent on your location, grass-fed, grass-finished can be outrageously expensive. And then in certain places like Kauai, for example, it's not as expensive because the farm's right there.
Yep.
And so I'm curious your thoughts, if you could give a couple pieces of advice on nutrition where people can make the best choices. I love the eat real food, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar.
Yep.
But then people demonize sugar. And it's like, well, for certain people, it can be a great tool. What advice do you give nutritionally that can be a relatively quick digestion for someone mentally?
I wrote on this recently, so I'll steal from myself. I have an acronym called VITAL. And so just the VITAL nutrition framework, I think variety. We need to get a variety of different foods. I always tell people shoot for 30 different plant-based foods a week. So again,
eat the rainbow.
Eat the rainbow. Easy enough. Then I is intentional portions. And so again, a lot of times it's not what you're eating, it's how much you're eating. And I think that gets lost in American culture where people are like, I'm eating great. I don't know where, I'm exercising. How am I gaining weight or how am I not losing weight? It's like, well, portion sizes. Are you eating the right amount of everything that you're getting? Then we get to T, timing. I think people, again, your body operates on circadian rhythms and your liver, your heart, your everything. And so if you're eating breakfast at 8 a.m. one day, then 10 a.m., then you're eating at 12, then you're eating at 9, it's hard for your body to adapt. Your hormones are all over the place, leptin, ghrelin, all of these things. And so can you have consistent timing? Can you not eat super close to bed? All of these things matter. And so it's not just the what you're eating and the how much you're eating, it's also the when. Then we move into A, and this is adequate protein and fiber. I think we know protein. I don't have to speak on protein. Everybody knows protein maxing and all of that. It's very important.
1 gram per pound of lean body mass, ideally for people that are trying to maintain lean body composition.
Exactly.
Lean body composition.
Exactly. And then fiber, I think, is one that's getting its love now. And so again, you can see 20, 30 plus grams of fiber, and this is going to come if you're getting 30 different plant foods a week. And then L is just, limits. And so again, I don't like to use the word avoid or do this, but are you limiting total calories? Are you limiting alcohol? Are you limiting the things that might be your vices? Are you building systems around how you can, use moderation, how you can find alternatives? And so all of those things are super simple, whether you want to use 80-20, whatever it is. Can you make the right decisions more often than not? Can you prepare your own meals? Can you do small things? And I know as a parent, it's always going to be different for people, travel, seasons. Maybe I can't cook, but we live in a day and age now where you can get pre-prepared meals that are very healthy. You can get all of those things. It's far different than the TV dinners when we were growing up.
We work with eat prepped meals down here. I know.
Yeah.
We've seen Factor all over the place. There's lots of different meal prep companies, and you can kind of customize them and do what you need to do. Can you touch on each one of those letters again? VITAL.
Yeah, variety for V. Then we got I. We got intentional portions. Then we got T, timing. Then we got A, adequate protein and fiber. Then we have limitations for L. So
dude, that's again, so easy. Good. Huge framework for people with their food. I love that, man. What trend do you think disappears in the next 5 years?
I think the trend of just I hope it disappears. The trend of over optimization, and I think I heard it best by I listen to too much podcasting, but I heard it best put. I like listening to different people because sometimes they can articulate something that maybe you didn't have the words to, and you're like, oh, that
I
lands.
also think when you only listen to one person, you're a little biased. You're kind of picking a team. Even with AI, sometimes I'm using Grok, sometimes I'm on Claude, sometimes I'm on Perplexity, sometimes I'm using ChatGPT. I like comparing and contrasting because when you are digging, you don't just want to dig in the same spot all the time. So I appreciate that you definitely have variety with who you listen to.
Yeah. He said basically along the lines of trying to be perfect can kill you faster than your imperfections will. Oh, yeah. And I think that's the stage we're in right now. It's I have people coming to me that are like, Kyle, should I take magnesium glycinate or should I take magnesium threonate? And I'm like, you're sleeping 4.5 hours. What are we doing? You don't even think about the supplements. Can we just try and get to the right amount of time in bed? And so I think for some people, it's they're jumping over the 90% to get to the 10%.
Yeah, they're stepping over hundreds to pick up pennies. 100%. And it's funny, like I experience that a ton. That's probably like my number one thing. People are like, oh, well, I saw this thing. This is the right way to do it. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be mean, but you're 50 pounds overweight. You getting 7,000 steps in a day is going to outweigh all of the biohacking things that you're looking at.
Yep.
And you know what's more important than the type of magnesium? Can you be compliant taking magnesium? The compliance is the science.
Yep.
And the thing that's so interesting is, once again, that goes back to just like simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, but simple doesn't sell. No. And so with the booming wellness industry, people are kind of closet buying from the gray market, GLP-1s and peptides. Yep. People are kind of dancing around using things like ClassPass, where they can do yoga one day, a HIIT workout another day, Pilates one day. They're kind of dancing around.
Yep.
And it's funny because like people come to the house and like, I'm not competing in CrossFit anymore. I'm not a pro athlete anymore, but I'm very, very consistent. Yep. We get a lot of our steps in. I'm also very fortunate that my job is active. And people are like, dude, like how do you look and feel? Like I see the way you train. I'm like, yeah, I push, I pull, I squat, I hinge, I carry, I move often, I eat real food, and I treat people appropriately. And then I microdose certain things that like, I feel like I want to try this. Okay, that worked. Okay, that didn't really work. Oh, I didn't sleep so good last week. I'm going to slow down and work more in this week versus working out. And you weigh and measure. But as long as you stay consistent with the big rocks and your pillars, then you can kind of fit the marbles in the sand in later. And I'm noticing a lot of people want to get into the weeds with chopsticks to play with the sand and the marbles, but then they don't have the non-negotiable big pillars. And I think that's something that we could really give to people today. Yeah. Get your steps, get your sleep, eat real food, pick things up and put them down, and like do it from a challenging state, not just like, hey, I checked the box, I went to the gym today. It's like, have a little bit of structure, find a coach, find somebody that can call you out on your biases and hold you accountable. Yep. If you do those things, you're kind of going to set that foundation that has limited cracks in it to build upon and have a beautiful life.
So well said. And I think I tell people you have to earn the right to do some of these 5% things or 1% things. And so if you're trying to take a supplement on a foundation that has no sleep, you're not eating real food, you're doing yourself a disservice, and those things actually aren't going to work well or at all. And so it's like, don't throw money down the drain. Don't 100%. Throw time and energy down the drain. Fix the foundation first. And yeah, like you said, it's the foundations, it's the basics, it's the boring stuff. That's the stuff that works. There's no secrets.
Totally. Recovery has become a big business now.
Oh yeah.
But so many people, in my opinion, they're not recovering better. They're just buying more gadgets. I have some friends that like every time there's like a red light therapy thing, they're like, hey, what do you think of this? Or, hey, this new peptide came out. Like they're like, hey, should I take MOTS-C? Yep. They're looking for the quick fix. They're looking for the thing they can throw some money at, but they're not the person that has earned the right to use the thing. Yeah. How do we reframe the headspace? And I'm sure what I'm about to say is going to be controversial, and I apologize for my vulgar language here, but like I very much appreciated it. Andrew Tate had a very interesting conversation where he said for like a month straight, like he probably had 5 to 10 people that were just like, hey Andrew, how do I get a 6-pack fast? And his response was, the fact that you want it fast shows that your whole mental framework is fucked. Yeah. You should actually want the challenge. You should want the pain, because anything that comes easy is not valuable anymore. And so when you look at, okay, for people that are navigating injury or that have the discipline to do the thing when nobody's watching, sure, the peptides could work. Sure, the recovery gadgets could work. Sure, the sauna and the cold plunge and the hyperbaric chambers and the NAD and all the different stem cells and things can potentially help add that 1%. But if you're just trying to get the quick fix, that's actually an identity issue. That's a mental framework that needs coaching before you just jump towards purchasing one of those things. And that's who you become while doing the hard thing. How do you think we can program people to have the desire to do the hard thing consistently?
Yeah, this is $1 million question. I think it comes back to identity, comes back to community, and having these forces at your back to make sure that you're in it for the right reasons. And like you said, not just in it for the outcome, not just in it for the destination. But I think you also have to gear people towards building habits as opposed to just doing things to get to an end goal. And I think You see it with, I'll use GLP-1s. It's like, of course, if you use GLP-1s, they work. And then if you stop using them, they don't work and you get the weight back. And we see this in research time and time again. But if you take GLP-1s and you build the systems and the habits to kind of mold your nutrition, mold your sleep, mold your exercise around those things, and then you start to come off of it, guess what? You can keep those habits that helped you elevate and helped you kind of sustain those things. And so
that's the thing right there. You keep it.
Keep it.
But when you earn it, you keep it. Yep. And so what's so interesting to me from, we touched briefly on like the hard stuff doesn't sell. Yep. You look at the wellness industry, the first thing people cut when gas prices go up, Costco actually has a data analytic around, hey, when people stop purchasing beef and they start purchasing more chicken, that's how you know there's a little bit of a financial distress out there. Well, when all those things start to happen, the first thing people cut is, my gym membership, my coach, my trainer, that's a luxury, that's an additive. Little do they know, like, hey, they're purchasing their home insurance or their renter's insurance, they have car insurance, because there's a fear-based model of like, hey, if you don't have this, there's a consequence, it's going to be really expensive later. But that consequence is almost more expensive over here, you just can't see it yet. And it's in the form of diabetes, cancer, pain, lack of freedom, thinking you're going to travel and actually live when you're ready or when your finances allow, but you're never really ready. Ready is a decision. It's not a time. And so I'm curious, as we wrap things up today, I view you as a very well-rounded wellness guru, thought leader, human being that definitely is boots on the ground, but also has the ability to fly and have perspectives of the bird's eye view, looking in the mirror, observing yourself, looking through a camera lens, observing other people. And there's this vision that comes to mind, and it's you and I standing atop like a building in Vegas, looking down at all the people. And I'm looking down there and I'm thinking, man, all these people are full of hopes and dreams. Hey, Kyle, why don't they pursue them? And you say, well, Bryce, like they're operating on a fear-based model. They like the idea of knowing how much money is going to hit their bank account biweekly. They like the idea of knowing that there's no penalty for having these insurance things. They don't like the idea of putting in an investment to something they can't see. So inevitably, they get manipulated by the rat race, the matrix. They get stuck on the hamster wheel, and the goal is to make it to the weekend where they can have escapism with Netflix, with partying, with drinking, with food. And then all of a sudden Monday comes around, they're like, oh my gosh, I have to do the thing again. That is most people living a life of quiet desperation. And I think together, based on your knowledge, your books, our podcast, I'd love to give people the framework, the intuition, the motivation, and the inspiration to be like, it doesn't have to be that way. As we wrap things up, what message would you like to share with people on that big topic?
Yeah, it is a big topic. I think what immediately comes to mind is that there's a cost to inaction. And I think most people think of like, oh, wrong action or failure, or, oh, I can't do this thing, or they want the quick fix because they're scared to do the hard thing. There is no failure when it comes to showing up every day and just trying to go for improvement. And like I said, goals that don't have an ending, that's where we want to live. Goals that are based on your identity, that's where we want to live. And if you can go down those paths, guess what? You're not looking for when I accomplish X, Y will happen. And I think that's setting an expectation in a world that we can't control. And letting go of control, having these goals that are never ending, really thinking about your identity, your values, your why, and what is kind of going to light the flame inside of you. Not, I want a six-pack abs, because when it's raining outside and you're tired and you had a long work day, six-pack abs is not going to get you out of bed. It's not going to get you to the gym. It's not going to have you cook your own meal. So what is the flame that burns inside of you? Why do you want to show up for yourself and all these things? Sit with that, have that conversation, but also know that, again, there's a cost to inaction. And so stagnation is the worst possible thing that we can do. Is as long as you're moving forward, you're either learning or you're getting better. And so I think for me, that's why I take so much comfort in showing up each day, because it's like, I'm going to learn something or I'm going to get better. And learning something is getting better to me, even if it's the wrong thing. And so I think way more dreams have died from inaction than they have from false
It's funny
action.
you say that. That's what I thought about when we went and visited my parents' grave a couple weeks ago. And that's what I feel when I'm there. Like, man, when you look here, there's like books that were never written, songs never sang. And it was just like, I had kids too young. I had to work at the grocery store to pay the bills for the kids. So I'm going to give up my dreams for them. It's an honorable pursuit. I'm not saying that it's wrong, but I am saying that, like, shoot your shot, sing the song, shine the light, go do the thing.
Yep.
Kyle, if you could have a billboard and share it with people, you know, we're driving on a really busy freeway. There's a big Kyle Gonzalez billboard over here.
Yep.
What would you like that thing to say?
I always come back to one of my favorite quotes, which is just the best way to predict the future is to create it. And so I think what we create is based on our energy, our attitude, our actions, our beliefs, our choices, and we can control most of those things. And so whatever is in your control it and do it to the fullest. And whatever you're going to be a good one. I think I always rest back on the, like, I don't look to be the best in the world at anything. I look to be the only one doing it. So that's what drives me, is like, there's never going to be another Kyle Gonzalez doing all the things that I'm doing. And so that drives me to continuously go down my own lane, run my own race. It's me versus me. It's not comparison. I think comparison, I actually used to be the person that was like, comparison is a thief of joy. I think comparison can be helpful, but when you start to use that as like a measuring stick in certain ways, like that's when it can become a thief of joy.
It's something, it's not everything.
It's something, it's not everything. That's a good way to put it. But I think for me, it's like the best way to predict the future is to create it. Go out, create your future. You have so much agency and ownership, especially over your health. And it is these basic things. But guess what? You got to do those basic things consistently, day in and day out. It's okay if you fall off one time, you know, all of that's great. 80-20, 90-10, whatever you want to use. But you have to continuously show up for these things. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's simple. That's totally different. And so I never, ever want to get up on my pedestal and be like, it's easy to be healthy. You just have to do this, this, and this. And I think sometimes you hear people saying that, and it's like a shame culture, like you said, the fear culture. No, for me, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you truly believe and want to change and have the intention to change, that is going to help the actions that you take. And so it's better than shaming yourself and being like, oh, I'm never going to be able to do this. And so for me, it's like, I heard this phrase, and I'm trying to bring up all these things, but it was basically like, some people think, of failure as like, the thing that they fear. But, high performers or driven people, they actually fear not trying. So don't
pursue failure, because it gives you data and a lesson.
Yeah. Don't be the person that doesn't try. Like, don't be the person that doesn't try. And I think that's the thing that sits with me, is like, I will die trying, but again, at least I'm trying. I don't want a person that's going to die on the sidelines watching, commenting, whatever the thing is. I want to be
the man in the arena,
I want to be the man in the arena. I want to be doing, I want to be taking action. And so my life is built around verbs. It's built around doing. It's built around forward momentum. And to me, again, I don't get it all right. I don't get I wrote this book, and weeks after my editor was like, all right, you got to turn it on this date. I'm like, damn, I want to change this thing. I want to change that thing. And so nothing is going to be perfect. Nothing is going to be, finished. It's just staying. We don't want to win the game. We want to keep playing it. And I think the game of health, the game of life, it's like, keep playing the game, keep showing up. Availability is the best ability. All of those things are ringing through my head.
So many great nuggets, man. I also appreciated what you said, that everything above zero compounds.
Oh, yeah.
And one of my rules is just don't miss 2 days in a row, because every day is an opportunity to begin again. So if you just have a day where you're off your game, reset, recalibrate, and then just restart.
Yep.
I love it, man. Where can people find your book?
Anywhere books are sold. Move, Thrive, Come Alive is on the shelves. Been on there for about a month and a half. It's been great. The feedback, the support, all of it has been great. I think I'm going to keep going, keep pushing, and hopefully you'll hear me more on the airwaves. But I think I appreciate you, the platform that you give me, the way that you can stimulate such a good conversation. You make me think, you make me kind of go deep for insights to really think about how I see the world and how we can better help articulate that to people who might not see it in the same way. And so I think you bring a good dialogue, you bring a good energy, you bring a good heart, you bring a good soul to what you do. And that's a special thing. It's important, and we need people like that. And I think there's just so much depth to you. And I'm just, glad that it's our third conversation. I know it won't be our last, but I appreciate you so much, and more than you probably know.
I received that, man. I appreciate you. And thanks for doing this, man. Today was
Love it.
fun. Guys, if you enjoyed my conversation with Kyle Gonzalez, please rate, review, subscribe, and as always, stay on the hunt for who you've not yet become. Till next time.